So welcome one and all, we Andy from WEEGAMERS and the Bunker Club. Often I enjoy a parlay with Mr. Karl from Crooked Dice, but today is a special one because we're going to be talking to Karl particularly about his latest campaign for Crooked Dice. So Karl, hello once more to you, good sir.
Evening, how are you?
I'm not too bad. I am replete with a nice cold beverage and the patience of Job in order to take on all the information you're going to impart to me, all the dark secrets. Lurkers from the Deep sounds like it should have a few dark secrets, but before we sort of dive into them, Karl, for the benefit of the new boys and girls and everything else in between who might be joining us, what is or who is Crooked Dice? What's the Crooked Dice story?
Crooked Dice has been going for about 10 years now, and we've got over predominantly a miniatures company. We've got 900 miniatures in the range, just over that. I think we'll clock probably 1,000 this year, plus a pretty solid line of resin terrain and resin vehicles in there. And we are also the producer of the 7 TV range of skirmish games, of which there'll be 4 sets by June this year when we do 7 TV fantasy, and they are a quick, fun set of skirmish games where essentially, if there's a TV show or film that you thought I'd like to be able to imagine that on the tabletop, you can with 7 TV.
So those sets that kicked off with Spy-Fi.
Yeah, the first set we did has retroactively been kind of renamed 7 TV Inch Eye Spy-Fi, because when we started it, we didn't think we'd be doing 4 sets. So yeah, that is all of your James Bond action hero. It's got a 60s, 70s television kind of vibe to it. So if you like a bit of Jerry Anderson or James Bond kind of fun, you can play it with that. But really, you can play any kind of TV show with that. So we started there. Then one of my particular loves was kind of dystopian, video nasty, Mad Max-esque kind of post-apocalyptic stuff. So we did a 7 TV Apocalypse box set 2 or 3 years ago. Now, maybe a little bit longer than that. But 2 years ago, we did 7 TV Pulp, which is Indiana Jones, Flash Gordon, all those cliffhanger serials that I grew up watching on kind of Saturday mornings and after school in there. So that's gangsters and a little bit of Cthulhu and all sorts of kind of planetary romances in there. And we're working on 7 TV fantasy right now. And those projects we worked with Edge Hill University on with a kind of a cadre of students in there that researched and helped us kind of write and design both of the games. And in fact, Lurkers from the Deep was started as a work experience project as 2 of the students that worked on Pulp.
That's brilliant.
So they originally started working on that.
I think it would be criminal not to mention, I suppose, at this point. I mean, Crooked Dice or 7 TV, I suppose they're interchangeable really. I mean, there is a very vibrant and very involved community behind your titles as well. And you do seem to work very closely with the fan base in, I suppose, in receiving input and helping to shape what comes out from Crooked Towers.
Yeah, we've been really good. We've been going 10 years, and we had a kind of a small community before that played some of the sort of fan-based games that we did as well, and they've come with us and inputted and play tested all of the games all the way along. So yeah, it's great. There's if anyone wants to go there's a 7 TV Productions Facebook page, which is a fan-based one on there, and they come up with and show their miniatures and their casts and their ideas for games, and they're pretty fantastic. Good fun, friendly crowd.
They are a good.
Sign up for that if you.
I can endorse that as a good bunch of decent people, whatever decent people are these days. But Karl, understandably, some people might then have the question: Crooked Dice have been going 10 years. It's got several titles under its belt. Why then the Kickstarter route for this project?
Yeah, that's a good question. I was a very late adopter, to be absolutely honest with you. But lots of other kind of manufacturers kept saying, "Well, you really try the platform. It's really good." And our approach with the miniatures was kind of slow but steady. We have released something monthly, pretty much ever since we kind of started in there. So we'll have none of this new kid on the block. But it's that monthly release just means it takes a while to build up a bit of a range, really. Kickstarter, I didn't really realise it when I first did it, but there's a whole community in itself out there, and it's a massive shop window for you to be able to get your stuff out to those people. It's the equivalent of Oxford Street rather than your local high street, really. So it reaches a huge amount of people. We tried a couple of little things on our our own website in there, but the reach that we got from Kickstarter just kind of knocked those into touch. But what I used Kickstarter for, which I kind of think was the main intent, is to help generate capital for the really expensive part of the process, which is the production of it. That's what I kind of always thought Kickstarter was intended for, really. With this we can do 16, 24 miniatures. There's a load of resin terrain. There's a load of MDF buildings as well, and then there's the production of the actual kind of boxed kind of rule set thing as well. And we're still a micro business, really. It's essentially me and lots of kind of talented people that help out. And we wouldn't be able to get that kind of release out in one go if there wasn't a platform like Kickstarter. So it's fantastic for that.
But I think it is worth saying, and hopefully I'm not breaching any sort of trust here. I mean, a lot of people come to Kickstarter and go, here's an idea, I'd like some money, give me the money and I'll make the idea happen. You have made most of this happen already. I mean, as you said, this is literally to fund you pressing the big green button, and those master molds are already done. The concepts for your buildings are already done. Your casing's already sorted out. Your rulebook layout and whatnot is already. This is literally to fund making it happen, not to create it from scratch.
Yeah, we're quite lucky in that my background is I'm a graphic designer by trade, and then I've worked in production for kind of for years. So one of the things that put me off about Kickstarter in the past was the fact that there was a huge lead time for it, and I saw some campaigns that would be years and years and years in delivery because you have to build all of that production stuff in. We've run 7 of these now, and all of them have delivered on time. So I make sure that before we get going, everything is ready. The bulk of production has been done. I think we've got maybe 5 models left to master in there, which will get done this month. But everything else is pretty much ready to roll in there, because that just means that we can fulfill it a bit quicker. So I'll do all of that prep work before the campaign starts rather than after the campaign.
Yeah, no, it's
just gets it to people quicker. A bit of planning and production, really.
Yeah, no, it's just, I think that's a really important thing for people at home to be aware of, because obviously once you've watched this, you're either going to go back and look at the Kickstarter page, folks, or you've looked at the Kickstarter page, you've got to the bottom, thought, oh, let's have a click on this video and see what this is about here. So that's an important thing to bear in mind, that this is ready to go. It's kind of, he's done the initial investment and it's sitting. So this isn't some mystical thing that's going to be sort of a year or 2 years down the pipeline. Okay, so look, I think what we'll do now is we will slide the magic button, and Karl's very kindly allowed us to pull up the Kickstarter page itself. And a bit like some sort of adventure land, Karl is going to give us his own guided tour of the Kickstarter page, and I will do my best on screen to keep up with it here. So the floor is yours.
So I guess the first thing is kind of what's Lurkers from the Deep in here. It's an expansion for our 70V pulp game. You could play it with our other versions if you wanted to, if you're kind of familiar with the rules, but it's a new kind of format for that. If you're familiar with 7TV, and a lot of our fans, and they like the kind of sandbox quality of the game, that you can build your own profiles and your own stories, and kind of build your own kind of narrative for it, and that's grand. But this is a much more, it's a campaign. It's 5 or 6 linked stories in there, with kind of bespoke characters and bespoke gadgets and MacGuffins. And the basic concept is inspired by the Lovecraft Shadows over Innsmouth. So it's the raid on Innsmouth, which is hinted at in the first couple of pages of the story in there, where the FBI and the army kind of go in and try to mop up whatever's crawling out of the ocean in there. And because we write skirmish games, that's a rich vein to be able to kind of mine in there. We're doing war stories versus cosmic horror is essentially what this comes down to.
A winning combination.
Exactly. Yeah. So we're mixing those two things. So it's government agents and the army and various things against the strange squamous kind of denizens of our town of Marshport. In there again, if you're familiar with kind of 7 TV, where there's a meta quality to the game, where we suggest that it exists in a world where there were these kind of mythical TV stations that ran these great kind of programs and films in here. And we've done that in all of the box sets, and Pulp's no exception. So there's Packard Pinnacle Pictures in there, and we propose that the guys there couldn't get the license from Lovecraft at the time to make a black and white cliffhanger serial of Shadow over Innsmouth. So they wrote their own, and they called it Lurkers From the Deep. And there's some great history in the front there of the studio and of the making of it that has been written, as well as the kind of the backgrounds to how this came into creation. So there's lots of wheels kind of spinning with it, but essentially it's a skirmish game with some investigators moment versus Cthulhu. So.
Well, I've pulled up onto the screen here sort of the outlay or the laid out, feature pack, which as it says this new format. It does look to be a busy little pack. I think you actually held up the real McCoy not too long ago there.
Yeah, to take that kind of that meta theme through of kind of production in there, we do that into kind of some of the packaging as well. So
it's a VHS cassette.
A VHS case in them, and all of your game is in the VHS case. And we've themed it as if you would have bought it out of a video shop in 1980s. So the kind of serials all there. So within that, we've got the game booklet, the accessories that you need, and everything you kind of you need to play through this campaign. So the wee giddy booklet in there. Which has got, as I say, our kind of our backgrounds of the show and some of the production sketches of things that they would have built on set, and then the games themselves. Bits and pieces in there. So you've got the core book. You've got some bespoke profile cards in there, so they're kind of named individuals in this rather than the generic archetypes that we normally go for. But you can mix and match those with the other 7 TV games as well. And the nature of the feature pack is quite nice because it allows us to write bespoke rules in there. We're not kind of in the generic scenarios that are out of the boxes. So we've got bespoke MacGuffin cards and gadget cards. And I think in the preview there you can see the ritual tracker as well, which is a little mini kind of Ouija board card in there that is used in one of the scenarios. In the very last episode, the esoteric agents are basically trying to stop Cthulhu rising from the depths in there, and there's a ritual being enacted by various cultists and weirdos. So that's a means of kind of tracking that for you. So we can have a lot of fun with a lot of the basic mechanics that we've got that we've already got in kind of 70, but in a more narrative style. So you're playing through a story rather than something that you've created yourself.
Now, would I be fair in sort of suggesting for the folks at home as well that in terms of a jumping on point for Crooked Dice, because there are the sort of the 4 different genre packs, if you like, it's not a case that you need to have them all. You kind of pick the one you like. But for someone who's still on the outside or is on the fence looking at this, would this be that kind of jump-in point where they could get this and start to get a handle on what the whole 7TV is about?
Yeah, as I say, a lot of the fan base like the sandbox quality of the game, that you can build anything and you can play anything. But for those people that are not tuned into that, or honestly are a bit time poor and just want to set up and pick up and play, that's really what the feature pack product has been based on. And we've got a series of these that are in development that will come out in the next couple of years for all of the different games. Because the core mechanics across 7TV and those 4 sets that you mentioned are all the same. What we do with each set is just add something a little bit different, like the Apocalypse one has got vehicle combat rules in it, for example. And the Pulp set has got perils, your rolling ball and your lava pits and that kind of stuff in there that were typical of the kind of cliffhanger serials. So we try to add something with each one, but the core mechanic is there. But if you just want to kind of play in a particular setting or don't have the time to build your own casts and do all of that, yeah, then this is who the feature pack's aimed at, I guess.
Cool. It is worth sort of saying for you folks again, and I hate to harp on it, at the newbies, it's not picking the newbie person, but if again you're standing watching this and sort of scratch the head, and on the other screen you're Googling who is Crooked Dice and what is 7TV, one of the sort of, not bugbears, but it's a challenge point for people that are new to the game is in a lot of war games you will buy like a rule book and an army book and you'll build the models that are for that army and you'll have your lists and what they do and you'll play it. 7TV gives you these cards which are about archetypes. So let's say, the dashing hero, that's a fair one. The dashing hero card tells you what the dashing hero can do, but it can be any model in your collection. That's one of the beauties of this, and this is where Karl and the guys are quite right, that people love the sandbox affair, that you can have whatever miniatures you want. It's down to your aesthetic and your happiness that you take the miniatures you want, you apply the archetype cards to them, they become those characters and play the game. It's not like, playing James Bond, but you're using like a Robin Hood figure to be him. It's better than that, and I've just described it badly, probably.
No, not at all. I mean, one of the core things about 7TV is it should be fun in there, and we wanted people to sit down for a couple of hours and just enjoy a good game of something, and ideally, a bit in the nostalgia of their youth as well. So we've intended and written it as miniature agnostic, mainly because when we started, we didn't have a huge amount of miniatures in the range when we kind of first did it as well. So play with anything you like, but play and kind of have fun with it. And as you say, you've got the action hero and the flamboyant spy and the double agent, but the miniature that you use can be one of those ones that's been sitting on your shelf for ages, and you like the model, but you couldn't quite find a use or the game for it. You'll be able to use that for kind of 7TV. I know it's a bit mad as a business model to kind of go, no. And we've got 900 miniatures in the range, so I'm sure you'll be able to find something that will suit most of your needs. Yeah, just play it and have fun with it, I think, in there. And it's built like that. All of the sets are kind of built like that. Because everybody's got, fantasy's coming out, and who hasn't got, a small collection of fantasy models for over the years that you want to be able to repurpose on the table. So you have the opportunity to do that.
Happy days. I'm just sort of looking at this at the same time. I'm thinking, I wonder how many people are going to have to Google what VHS means these days.
You're probably right.
I'm pretty sure there's already somebody by now who's Googled what bespoke means. Today's show is brought to you by the word bespoke and the letters V, H, and S. So, okay, I'm scrolling on down here. I've kind of taken over. I'd sort of said you could do the guide to tour, and I've just decided that it's kind of easier for me to do it. So we're looking at the VHS cassettes there, and that's nice. And then we start coming into some of the actual models. We've got the story so far, which explains the coastal town of Marshport, web of a centre. But the nice thing for the folks at home here is that they're getting to look at, dare I say, 4 slightly recognisable hero types and 4 of the rather nice fish folk miniatures as well. We've got I think the town sort of constable. We've got, I think, like a matriarch of Dagon or something like that there. We've got a bellboy and a rather dapper fish-like lady with a bottle of hooch and a shotgun.
She's one of our bootleggers, yeah. So all of those characters kind of appear in the feature pack in there. So there's some of the kind of personalities that are in our town of Marshport in there. So yeah, within the campaign, there's the feature pack as we talked about. So if you like the rules and you're already a fan or you want to test out, you've got the feature pack in there. But we've got, I'm going to say 2024 maybe, new miniatures in the range as well. So there's a mix of the Marshport people, what we call them fish folk, in there, which are adding to a range that we've already got, and then we've got the government agents. So we've split our pledges between kind of heroes and villains as well. Yeah, so you've got loads of miniatures to choose from. Plus, there's some resin monsters and various bits and pieces as well that we've added into that. All get unlocked as we kind of go on.
Lovely. I mean, I'm going to throw in here my 10 cents worth, because I am one of those miniatures collectors who is guilty of buying the miniatures that they like. And again, that comes from the tradition of playing a game where you buy into the army that you want. Of course, that's not how 7TV works. And I decided last month I would, branch out and be daring. And when I say bought miniatures that I didn't like, that's not true. I bought miniatures that I had no purpose for. And I bought some of your fishfolk cultists. And I had them painted by the evening that they'd arrived, because as soon as I had them in hand, I don't know whether it was a nostalgia thing, I don't know what it was, but I looked at them and these are so cute, and I just started out through them. I'm really pleased with them. And yes, I probably will end up playing with them because they obviously work in 7TV. But that's just one of the nice things, that you don't have to stick with particular miniatures. You don't have to stick with, if you look at something and think, oh, it's not really my cup of tea. It doesn't matter. You have to keep bringing it home.
I'll have to give a shout out now to Ian Colwill, who has sculpted the majority of the Fishfolk range that we've got in there, and he's just got a lovely style. And they're both sinister, and as you said, there is something slightly cute about them as well. It's a bit of a weird mix, but the styling of them is just perfect for what I wanted. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe 6 packs, 4 packs now with the stuff that we're adding with these. So it's a decent little range if you just, I mean, a lot of people don't play the game, but they just collect or they paint for them, and there's a nice little range there in its own right.
I think in our hearts, as you've said, we're of a certain age, and this game is all about certain shows. And I think there's something about the fish folk that subconsciously says, Kermit is good. Kermit is a force for right. And then you're looking at this small person who's got like a gutting knife and like the head of a dog in its hand. You think, but you're not good. You're evil.
I never thought of them as Muppets before, but now we've got a town of Kermits.
Yeah, now that I've said it, you're never going to say it. Right, so on the screen, I'm going to end up hitting the stretch goals here, but I'm sort of thinking that maybe the right thing to do here is to sort of talk about the pledge levels. And I think
that's a good idea. Yeah.
I think if I scroll down here and ignore the stretch goals, I think I actually come to pictures of the pledge levels, do I? Yes, I do.
You should do.
We've got
there we go.
Yeah. So okay, we've got the feature pledges on the screen here first.
Yeah. So we've got our lurker one in there, which if you just want to support it or you want to buy individual packs, you can just go in for your £1, your standard kind of Kickstarter entry point if you want to. But if you're just interested in the game, the feature pledge there will allow you just to pick that up. So as with all of the things in here, the Kickstarter, they're discounted on the retail price. So it will go into retail later on. You just won't get the discount that you would as part of the campaign. In there. So your feature pack we've talked about before. In there, you've got your guide, you've got some accessories, you've got 2 different sets of coloured MDF tokens in there as well, and some new things for you to kind of enjoy. Some new mechanics that we've put in there as well. We've got, I think you see the injury card on there because it's a campaign play, and it's kind of linked between the episodes in there. There's a nice little bits where you can, get a black eye or a broken arm or something in there, and you can kind of carry that.
All the injuries carry through. Okay, that's cool. Yeah. That's cool. Yeah. Okay, so that comes in at around about the 18 quid.
So that's the feature play.
So then the next one on the screen.
So that's a.
Oh, sorry.
That's all right.
The next one on the screen then is the hero pledge.
Yeah, the hero pledge and the villain pledge are the same value in there, but what we've done is we've just themed them. If there's if you go, oh no, I just want to play that particular cast in there, then we've got our heroes of government agents and esoteric agents in there who work for a shadowy government organisation that protects the world from weirdness.
Some kind of shield for mankind.
Very much that kind of thing, one could say.
Yeah.
And then you've got some classic G-men in there in the best pulp mould.
Well,
so yeah.
I was just going to say, I do notice that it is now G people. Because one of them,
Thank you. I think that makes things slightly more difficult. In there, they're all called G-men. There's loads of.
Maybe G-men's like a job description.
The old pulp serials. There were many of G-men versus the Shadow Ring and stuff like that. That's a good old pulpy term in there.
Yeah.
So I've gone for agents. We're a bit more diverse now in the way we're doing it. So we've got there's 3 fellas in there and a female character at the end of the pointing one. So we've got a mix there. So it's 8 miniatures and the box kind of 45. And the villains as well. This is some good Kermits, I believe you've now badged them. But our fishfolk people, so you've got the fishfolk stars, and there's a set of sailors there. And if we're lucky enough later on, hopefully we'll unlock some. There's some dock workers that we've got in there as well, and also some kind of some deep one types later on to unlock.
Very
so
nice.
You'll be out there, kind of both sets of forces if you want to.
I do love the fact that their features are such.
But if you think,
I was just going to say, I love the fact that their features are such that yes, you can go the whole green skin and kind of there's something very unnatural about you here, or you could paint them in fleshy tones, and they're just going to look not quite right. People, there's something wrong with them. Yeah.
Well, it's taking inspiration from the Innsmouth look, that comes from their kind of story in there. So, I didn't give a lot of direction on the paint jobs for these, but they've all come out in that kind of slightly grey green kind of weird pallor to them, and a good bulging eyes. So yeah, no, I'm delighted with those.
Yep, rightly so. So after that, we hit your director's pledge.
Yeah, so if you go, well, I like all of those, I want both of them, Carl. We can do that with you with the director's pledge. So that's basically, there's 16 of them, and you're getting a better discount on there. Obviously, the bigger you buy, the better discount you get. So that's all 16 new sculpts for it, and the box again for you. So
okay, and then now, maybe I'm jumping the gun here. We've scrolled past stretch goals. Where do stretch goals come into the campaign in terms of the pledges?
Right. So we've divided up stretch goals in there between free stuff. Good old thing with a Kickstarter in there, so you'll get some of those. And you'll also get some paid add-ons in there, and there's 2 different types of those. They'll either be new packs of miniatures that we've not had before that we might be able to unlock and put into production, But part of this campaign also is our 12 different MDF buildings that we've designed with Sarissa precision in there. And there's a pledge for that, so we might as well scroll down and have a look at all of those now. So you can pledge for them in the MDF one, and you'll get them all. And it's the same with the bigger, the big producers pledge in there. But if you don't want to spend that amount of money and get them all in one go, as we go through the campaign and we reach higher amounts, we'll unlock individual buildings that you can add to your pledge. So if you say, I really like the lighthouse, but I don't want the rest of them, you'll be able to unlock that as part of the stretch goals and get that at least 20% off what it would be in retail. The MDF pledge there for all of those buildings, I think, is like 50, 60 quid off it if you get them in one go. But that might not be everybody's taste or everybody's budget. So all of the kit.
No, sorry. I think we get the odd little cutout, and I think you finished. So sorry for appearing possibly rude in this one. I was just going to say, it's a remarkably nice idea because, and if I pick you up right here, I could decide today, hey, I love all of Karl's buildings. I want to spend 170 quid on buildings. I'll get those buildings success or failure of the unlocked goals. But by me going for that maybe helps reach a goal where Jimmy, who say, as you said, just wanted the lighthouse, it does become unlocked and he has the ability to do that just as an add-on without having to worry about everything else.
Yeah, with all the campaigns that we've done, we've tried to be as flexible as we can within the kind of budget in there so that you can kind of pick and mix stuff in there. So that's the idea, yeah. The more you pledge or the more you share it around to people, the more people go on. It might unlock some of those things, but you can go in big, and that's not going to deny you getting those things. So
nice.
It's a little bit of kind of mix and match in there, which hopefully suits everybody's taste and budget. Really, that's what we've tried to do with every campaign we've run.
Lovely. Got to say, since we've just got these up on the screen as it is in the minute, I mean, Sarissa, you don't really need to say anything other than Sarissa. I'll caution the audience now, if you're not familiar with Sarissa precision buildings, don't go and look now. And if you do go and look, disable your PayPal account. Because Sarissa is like one of those shops that you're out for a walk when we used to be able to go for walks, and I'll go in here for a look, it's starting to rain, and you're coming out and you're walking up the car with 4 bags filled with stuff and you're going, what? How did that happen? That's Sarissa. You go on and go, that's really nice, that's really nice, that's really nice, that's really nice. Oh, I've spent £1,000. That's really nice.
They are a lovely bunch of talented people. They started on the kind of trade show circuit around the sort of, and I think started business around the same sort of time as us. I think I'm right in saying. And I wanted to work with them for ages. I'd say now that the buildings are supplied unpainted, but there is a fantastic book that they produce. Both the builder and the painter, Gary, is a very, very talented man. And there's a great book on how to kind of get that kind of standard really easily. With them, but they've got a huge amount of kits. We tried to go for objective buildings and kind of good thematic stuff like the Lighthouse and the Temple of Dagon and the New England mansions in there. But when I was planning out the maps and each scenario and writing those, I planned the whole table out with Sarissa buildings. I quickly realised that wasn't really quite viable for wasn't commercially savvy for a Kickstarter campaign. But you could build each one of those maps with the stuff from there because it gave me a good way to map it out. And there's some lovely stuff on there, as you say. So, this is just a little snapshot and hopefully some good iconic buildings for this particular setting. But you could easily expand on that with anything from their back catalogue. You were right, you could spend a fortune.
Yeah. And it would be a happy fortune.
Yeah.
So, okay, rolling on down then, we come to, I think, the creme de la creme, the producer's pledge then, which is, it's basically everything.
Yeah, it's everything that we've seen before. So it's all of those buildings and the feature pack and the 16 miniatures as well. So you'll just getting that at an even kind of better price in there, if that's the kind of budget that you can play with, and quite appreciate that not everybody can. But with that'll get you the lot. If you want to, and probably kill your postman delivering it, I would imagine. But
well, they need the work these days. I mean, really, going for this pledge not only is supporting small industry in the UK in terms of the likes of yourself, it's supporting sculptors who are getting paid, it's supporting artists, it's supporting Sarissa, and it's supporting the Royal Mail.
Yeah, they're not strapped for a bit at the moment, are they? I must admit.
Yeah, but still, it's
down has not been kind to them.
It's doing your bit. It's doing your bit. So, okay, I'm gonna just roll through the paid add-ons, and what I would say is if I read out something that you feel, oh no, Andrew, that's worthy of more than merely you saying words, shout out, oi, shut up, big lad, I want to say something. So in terms of paid add-ons here, folks, you can get all these bits and pieces separately as well. We've got the esoteric agents. I'm never going to get tired of that word. We've got our government agents add-on. We have, of course, Great Cthulhu. Now, I'm going to pause for just one moment here. Those of you watching at home will notice that behind us is a huge big picture. That big picture is right at the top of the screen here of this Kickstarter. And I mistakenly, when Carl and I were having our fine cheroot and a cognac before recording this, had suggested that it was a lovely painting that had been done, but that artwork is actually his miniatures, just photographed really fancy to create the work. And this is that Cthulhu. 120 millimeters tall Cthulhu. Not the biggest Cthulhu in the world, but a practical Cthulhu.
I've been wanting to do one of these for ages, and it was sculpted by Andrew May. I kind of wanted a tabletop playable one. I mean, there's some beautiful ones in there, and there's that 2 foot high one from Death May Die, whatever it was called, which is amazing. But I wanted a kind of a playable piece, so arguably maybe more of a Starspawn than a kind of than the man himself. But it's a nice sculpt, and yeah, the front cover was. That you've got behind you at the moment is quite easy to kind of do. Really, that's just a close up of him with a lovely Photoshop filter on there to make him look all kind of squamous and cyclopean. In there. So I can assure you the sculpting quality is very crisp. It's not as wobbly as you're seeing there. But that's the fella. So yeah, we've already got quite a lot in the back catalogue in here, and he's one of them. So you can add those on if there's other stuff that you would like.
I was going to say that would be a sculpting achievement. We also do a fine range of blurry miniatures. And we do those for people with poor eyesight who aren't really sure about their painting. So they look blurry to begin with, and they'll look much better by the time you've painted them.
I can't promise that.
There's our fish folk add-on. And this is class. We've got the little sort of fishmonger lady. We've got a priest to Dagon. We've got a fisherman. We've got a lot of fishermen with this sickle and stuff like that. Fishfolk 2 then, kind of more the same. It looks like the chap who works in the fish place.
Heavy dock worker, I think, is the best way to describe him, maybe.
Yeah, that'll do me. And what almost looks like the little library ghost from Ghostbusters, the little old lady with the book.
She is our librarian in there. We've got that, we've got the captain, and then we've got the good old mayor on the end there as well.
Lovely.
So a little nod back to the kind of the original kind of Innsmouth stuff, really.
It puts me in mind of the kind of low budget but possibly best rendition we've ever seen, Dagon, the movie.
Yeah. With the good, he's got the good Cadillac with the closed windows and stuff.
Yeah.
So that was in a draft at one point. It didn't make it through to the end, but we tried to get the limousine in there.
See, you've got an excuse for a Cadillac because you can use a Cadillac in Apocalypse TV as well.
I know. There is a sedan in the works. It's just it wasn't ready in time. So yeah, it would be quite nice to be able to do it for that.
Fair enough. So okay, there's the Fishfolk cultists. Not the ones I painted. These ones are painted slightly better than the ones that I done. But you can see lovely miniatures going on. Lots of wee motifs about them. A lot of character about them. The Cthulhu sort of staff and whatnot as well. Fishfolk Stars. There we go.
Well, again, what we try to do, the flexibility in there, these are the ones that are in the main pledges. But if you really don't want to go for one of those, you know, you don't want to spend 45 quid because you don't want the rules in it and you just want the packs, then you can buy them here as well.
Yeah. Because, I mean, there is enough Fishfolk here for somebody who wanted to do a quirky little army for a different game system. There's enough here to amuse them. We've got our Fishfolk Sailors. Finally, an excuse to actually buy an MDF boat off Sarissa.
Yes, they've got some nice bits and pieces, and there's a good fishing tug that a New Zealand company does as well. But I've never quite invested in it because I think the shipping was probably about as much as the kit.
The shipping,
there's some nice ones out there.
The shipping's bad because it would cost you the same amount as to actually buy a small Norwegian fishing tug.
It'd probably easy to hire one and bring it over. But Sarissa have got a nice range of boats that they've started to do at the moment as well. So there's plenty there.
We have our Eldritch Horror and our Protoplasmic Terrors, which I'm quite impressed that I pronounced that properly.
Yeah, this is nice. The Eldritch Horror is a little waterline one that we've got. I think I'm going to say those wings are probably an inch, a couple of inches kind of high in there. So it's just rising out of the water. And there's 3 smaller Protoplasmic Terrors, and one of our stretch goals later on, if we get there, a couple of bigger kind of Shoggoth, which are on 40mm bases. Each one of those ones shown there will probably fit on a 25 quite comfortably. But it's a different, within the rules, there's profiles for those little ones and the bigger ones. So you can kind of build a force out of the monsters.
Nice. Then we've got the Marshport Terrain Pack add-on, which is streetlights and waste cans and possibly a couple of bits of debris as well. Yeah,
I must admit, I'm a terrible terrain head, and I just love my terrain in there, and I've wanted to do something like this for ages in there. So these could be objective tokens in there, or they can just kind of dress your streets with the other buildings and stuff in there. So there's a little Marshport terrain pack. That's where the game is set, and then we've got a good kind of cyclopean slabs and fish idols and that kind of thing in the Cthulhu.
The cult terrain pack. We've got like a statue for Dagon. We've got like a Cthulhu shrine, and then a couple of smaller shrines, like doorway shrines or something like that. There.
Yeah, there's a little altar, and there's that lovely weird kind of fish on the ball in there. That all goes together with one piece. That's a kind of a weird statue in there, which for some reason reminds me of kind of Ian Miller stuff. So that's another couple of little add-on terrain packs, and that one's in resin, and the Marshport ones are all cast in white metal.
Lovely. So, but I mean, the likes of that Cthulhu terrain pack there again for those folks watching, that's an ideal pickup if you're playing those kind of weird World War stories or game systems and like that. That's another lovely one to pick up, because those statues and figurines and ruins would look as well in a jungle setting, in a desert setting, in a mountain table, in a forest table. They're going to fit in wherever you want, really.
Yeah, they're good kind of generic things. You can work them in as well if you want to. The last chapter of the thing, the kind of big finale, is on kind of like Devil's Reef, a rock in the middle of the bay in there. And there you can use those for there if you want to. You don't have to, but there's a good set. We try to kind of give you something that you could have in most of the scenarios.
Nope, good, looks good. And then, of course, for the completist, there's the 7TV Pulp box set, Pulp Skirmish Rules. Now, this kind of is misleading because it's just a picture of what could be a little box, but that's actually a jam-packed box full of stuff, really.
Yeah, how many profile cards are in there? 100 and I'm going to say 180, I think, in there. So you've got everything from your Space Ace to your Intrepid Adventurer to your Occult Investigator, and there's heroes and villains and a load of extras, like your goons in there as well, plus the base rules. And we added some extra decks and stuff into that. There's bespoke MacGuffins, so the thing that you're at, it's the Maltese Falcon or the Necronomicon or the Ark of the Covenant, all in there, in fact. those, a load of gadget cards in there as well, and we added something new for this, which was the peril sets, which I mentioned earlier. You know, like the rolling ball and the runaway truck, and good perils that you would see in any kind of cliffhanger kind of serial in there. So that gives you everything to kind of play in that setting, and that's this feature pack works on the back of those rules. As I say, you could play it with any of the other stuff without too much of a stretch. But there are some statuses and things that are in pulp that aren't in a couple of the other ones. But it wouldn't be much of a stretch to play it. I think you could have a good game of that with any of the sets.
I think it's worth probably throwing in at that point. You do have a sort of a free set of rules for download on the Crooked Dice website. That's
right. The 70-inch high Spy-Fi rules that we first released, we did a free PDF of that, which has got it's the full set of rules, just in a sort of handy home printed black and white version of them, and that's all of the base rules that you need, and it's actually got all of the colour cards that you need that are in Interest Spy-Fi as well. So those profile cards and gadget cards and countdown cards and all that stuff are all in there. So you could download that, and you can play the feature pack with that. There's just a couple of gaps in there, as I say, for statuses. I think are probably the only thing.
Yeah, but I just think again, for someone with no idea where they're coming from here, they could go and download that and have a read through it, and it would give them the spirit of what this is about. Yeah,
absolutely. As I say, they're the same throughout all of them in there. So if they download the through thing, you go, oh yes, this is something that I want to invest in and interested in. Then you'll test it out first, test drive it, and see whether you like it with those rules.
Try it. You'll never go back. And we all love an excuse to collect more miniatures. Crooked Dice offers you the very best of excuses. I'm just going to roll backwards here to the stretch goals, because we kind of danced through the stretch goals to talk about the pledge levels. So I just want to sort of, for the sake of, again, the complete coverage of what we're talking about here. So the stretch goals, at key milestones, your contributions will unlock free models for all feature pledge backers. That's the £18 or above level. It will unlock paid add-ons for new miniature packs to your base level, so anyone can access those once they're unlocked. And unlock paid add-ons for the new MDF buildings designed by Sarissa Precision to add to your base page. Now again, just to clarify that, the buildings will be unlocked as individuals as long as the goal levels are hit. But if you decide today, I want a city full of these buildings, I love them, they are simply the best thing I've seen in my life, will not be complete without them, you can pledge for them and you will be guaranteed getting them, even if they are not unlocked, which is a rarity.
You'll get a big discount for getting them at the it was 170 quid for the MDF only, or the producers one in there. So you'll get a fair old whack there. But if more people add in, we'll unlock them and you'll be able to buy individual ones.
Yeah. So there's the stretch goal summary. Exclusive postcard, because, we all send postcards. That was just my little nod of sarcasm. The Boat Builder's Shed. The Boat Builder's Shed, Boat and Lighthouse. Which is an add-on. We've got the Necronomicon on its little stand. That's another little MacGuffin or another little piece of terrain for you. We've got Fishfolk Dockers by 6. We have the Refinery, which is very nice looking. We've got an Occult Statue. We've got the Mansion and the House. And then we have Beat Cops, which look very splendid in there. They're still slightly work in progress pose there at the moment.
I'll have painted pictures of those very soon. I think John's just working on those at the moment, so they'll be coming through. So what we've tried to do with all of this is do a mix of different stuff as you go on. So you can unlock a building, and then we'll give you a free thing, and then there'll be another miniature pack in there, and we'll probably follow that format kind of right the way through, depending on how well we do. Always difficult to know whether how successful it's going to be, but we've got plenty there to be able to kind of fill it with any luck. And later on we'll have, you've seen them above there, the derelict versions of some of those things as well, if you want a really decrepit New England town. But there's going to be plenty in there. I think the postcard probably won't be that. It will be some new artwork that's being worked on at the moment by Dave. So it'll be a nice, probably line art drawing of the town or something. We'll pick out there. So
Ooh,
yeah,
wow.
there's loads of that. Takes us a way in, and we've got 30 days. So you never know where we might end up if there's enough interest.
Now this is just typical wee Andy throwing in his 10 cents worth here. Postcards, right? What about a map of the town with a little red dot and a "You are here," so you actually could turn it into a billboard piece of terrain?
That's nice. I like that. I have thought about just doing a map just of Marshport in there anyway.
Yeah.
So we might be able to work that in.
You could
So,
also you could also do maps as if they were old decrepit rugs of various styles and ages with strange arcane symbols on them, and they could use them as rugs inside the buildings.
I like that. I like that quite a lot.
Yeah, you really should talk to me before these projects.
Some creepy tapestries is what I'm thinking of now.
Exactly. The big sort of mansion painting.
Yeah, I like that. Who knows? Who knows now?
Or the way you've got like the sort of the temple with its windows.
Yes.
So you measure the size of the windows and you do the postcard black with just the stained glass Dagon windows. Yeah. So you put it in the inside and there's your stained glass windows to cut out and fit into your building.
Look at this.
I really deserve a Crooked Dice t-shirt. Let's face it, I'm like the best unpaid member of your team.
Be one in the post.
Aye, that's what they all say. $6 million man. Anyway, so 2K, 4K, 5K, 6K, 8K, 10K, 12K, 14K. I'm not going to put you in the spot here, but where would you like to see this project reach? And you've done 7 other projects, so where do you think this one's going to probably plant its flag and say, you know what, I'm done here?
I wish I know. I've done 7 of them, and I'm none the wiser. Every time it catches me out in there, and I'm kind of, I'll build some up a little bit in there and make sure that we've got enough to go. We don't reach them other times. It knocks it through. I don't know. I'm running this one for a little bit longer. So we're running for this for like 30 odd days, 29th of January to the 1st of March. So we've got a little bit of a longer time. It really depends on how well we can get the message out really in there, because we've got some fantastic and very loyal kind of fans in there that do go in for most of the campaigns that we've got. So it's really how much we can reach new people with it to go, oh yeah, that looks like fun. And I think we've got something with this one where it's a bit more of a kind of complete package. You've got a bit of a game, and you've got some miniatures, and you've got terrain. So it's appealing to a range of different people, I hope.
Yeah. Well, it's the one. I was going to say, it's the one thing I say to the audience whenever we talk about any sort of Kickstarter, when we talk about any project really, is that quite often you're sitting there at home watching on YouTube, you're painting your miniatures, or you're reading your book, or you're doing whatever you're doing, and you're kind of watching this stuff in the background, and you maybe find it vaguely interesting, but it's not quite your cup of tea. For things like this here, that literally just that little share, that little like or whatever, or if I can encourage you to hit subscribe, please do, because it's like hugging us without having to touch us. But do share it. If you're on Facebook and you see WEEGAMERS in the Barn Club posting this up, or Karl posting up Crooked Dice or anything like that there, hit share. Tag a couple of your mates. You might look at it and think, it's interesting, but it's not really my cup of tea. But you have your circle of friends, you've got other people you connect with who might not notice it, might know nothing about it, and for the sake of you sharing it, they catch wind of it and go, wow, that is the thing that is going to bring me some happiness this month. In this bleak, COVID-filled world that we're currently living in, them finding out about Lurkers From the Deep or something like that could just be the thing that makes them have the difference between having a day and having a great wee day. So yeah, if you can spare the 4 seconds to give a wee share, it makes all the difference to people like Karl, because look at his wee face. Look at him. He's buying supermarket brand coffee these days, and this is a guy who deserves to be drinking, I don't know, filter coffee with like a fancy label from some warm climate country, and for a moment in the day imagining that he's on sunnier shores.
Sometimes it's just a bit of dirt in a cup, you know, with a splash of water. Not even hot water, Andy.
No, I can well imagine.
Grit sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I've seen games designers before. I've sat in Starbucks as they've walked around at the end of the day, downing the dregs, minesweeping from coffee cups that others have left behind.
I don't know what I'd do with that caffeine. I'd be a shell of a man.
No, but there we go. I mean, folks, that's as good an insight, short of literally putting the Kickstarter into your hands, short of logging on onto your name and spending money on your credit card. That's the closest we can get you to finding out about it. And trust me, if those leaks from the internet were as good as they were, we'd be doing that.
Well, you won't be short of me annoying you over the next kind of like month or so. There'll be plenty up on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter in there. Most days we're putting a couple of things up there about it as stretch goals gets unlocked, and we'll give previews of some of the other buildings and some of the other miniatures as it goes along as well. So I'll apologise in advance now for annoying the bejesus out of everybody.
Apologise to nobody, because what we're going to do is, by the time this goes up, certainly on YouTube, I don't know what you're necessarily going to do with it yourself on the Kickstarter or whatever, but what we'll do is on the notes, we'll put the link to Crooked Dice's web store, we'll put the link to Crooked Dice on Facebook. But yeah, I mean, if you've looked at this, if you've looked through the Kickstarter pledge and you're still thinking, well, I don't know, I've got questions, check out the 7TV community. The guys and girls on there will be more than happy in their droves to answer any questions for you they can. You can fire Carl an email at Crooked Dice. He will equally be happy to answer any questions. You can ask us at WEEGAMERS. Sometimes we notice that we've got messages and we actually get round to replying to them. And you can comment in the video down below as well. Just put a comment down there if there's something you've seen thinking, oh, well, you know, I want to know more. Well, we'll answer you by probably telling you to do exactly what I've just rambled through there in the past couple of minutes. But yeah, we will be back with Carl, or in some way hand in hand with Carl, as we explore more details and specific parts of the Kickstarter as well. It does run for a month, so it covers a couple of paydays. So winner, finally.
That's the feedback from people when I asked, what's the thing you'd like to see most? Make sure it runs over 2 paydays is what everybody says.
Yeah, yeah. Because 2 paydays is the difference between, I mean, in my case, getting a few miniatures and getting the £250 pledge.
I've been informed quite regularly of your saving. I've saved this much.
Yes, yes. I
don't know if you're selling internal organs or what you're doing. I sold a spleen today.
Got a jar and I busk and I wait tables and I sell blood. No, it's not weird. It's not my own.
No. That just does an entry in Marshport, I think.
Absolutely. Well, it wouldn't be a mythos-like video if we didn't have something kind of weird at the end of it, aside from the 2 of us. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we will not hold you back any further. Hopefully, we have tried to cover this as clearly as we can. We will provide you with all the contact information we possibly can, we say in the comments. And please do. That's the only thing we ask in return, is that if you can take the time to give a wee share to your local gaming groups, to your communities, to your friends, to your mate who likes their H.P. Lovecraft novels, because, you know, they might just decide, I'd like to have some miniatures in my bookcase, and that can be the difference between success and failure, or between another stretch goal and the one just below it. Everything you can do to help spread the word is a big help. And that's it. Unless you have anything else you'd like to add, Carl?
No, just thank you, sir. Thank you very much. As I say, just check it out. We'll be going live with our notify me on launch button soon, once Kickstarter approve it in the next day or so. So yeah, sign up and you'll get a ping when we go live on the 29th, probably in the evening, I would have thought. But thank you very much, sir. Been much appreciated.
Not a problem. Boys and girls, everything else out there in the universe, thank you very much for watching once again. As I say, if you have the time to hit like, fire us a comment, hit subscribe down at the bottom. It is all greatly appreciated. And make sure and head over to Facebook and give Crooked Dice a little like as well. Because Karl likes the odd like too. He's been known it's like Jaffa cakes. You can never have too many until it's too late. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again soon. Bye-bye for now.
Hello.